Howdy. Speaking of talk segments, we're going to autopilot through this talk segment, right? The same way that we autopilot through everything else. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I've seen a lot of people really criticizing like current fighting games for allowing people to autopilot. I saw specifically tweets from a few top not Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat players, or not top, but very good old school Mortal Kombat players. I won't say any names. I don't really feel like I don't want to get into all the Twitter drama stuff. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to talk about instead of like name calling and using it as some sort of a way to cause drama and throw shade. I would rather use it to create some sort of a constructive talk segment. So that's what we're here doing today. I want to talk about autopilot in fighting games, or autopilot in games in general, right? Because I think that building a strong autopilot for anything in life, but especially in gaming, especially in the current era that we're in for video games, is really, really smart. Okay, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't think the autopilot strategies should be hard, because I do think that the games do seem to reward people for autopilot strategies really hard, and that's the argument that most people are making. But there should be nothing wrong with you as a player building your autopilot, right? If you are a streamer or a personality or a YouTuber or someone who plays the game all the time but also has to have their eyes focused on other things or their brain focused on other things, right? So say let's just even equate it to more real life things. Hey, what up, Game Bros? How you doing, man? GG's the other day. I wasn't streaming during that set, unfortunately. Maybe we'll do a review of it before I go on to actually playing today. But back to the topic conversation. I think that building a strong autopilot is fine, right? If you don't have a strong autopilot, then you're gonna have to use your brain a lot more. I don't know if you guys know about this thing called System 1 and System 2. Okay, System 1 is notoriously eager and loves to shout out the wrong answer to. System 2 loves being more calculated, patient, and making System 1 take a back seat when it's wrong, okay? So there's nothing wrong with having a System 2, because having a System 2 is how you react to anti-airs or dashes or recognize string, right? In your own offense, yeah, GG's for sure. In your own offense and running your pressure and understanding how most opponents would react to your pressure is how you have your System 1, i.e. your autopilot. Okay? So that's just kind of an explanation for how, hey, what up, Ibring Terror? That's kind of an explanation for how your autopilot essentially works, right? There's nothing wrong with having an autopilot in fighting games or in games in general. I'm sure Call of Duty players don't think super hard when they see an enemy player on the screen, right? They say, there's an enemy player, I know that's an enemy player, aim down sight, shoot, right? That's just kind of, it becomes second nature the longer you play the game. Understanding your own character's offense in a fighting game, understanding your block pressure, your strings, your combos, that is all System 1. Here's a perfect example. I want you to take your most popular fighting game and best character in that game, and I want you to rearrange all of your buttons and go play. You will be using your System 2 the entire time, and you'll notice something. You're going to be extremely tired. That is why people have button checks constantly in tournaments. That's why. Strawberry Lemon Arizona and it's fire. I like that one too. It's pretty good. I definitely like that one. Right? So I think that there's nothing inherently wrong with having an autopilot. It's when the autopilot becomes, when its inequity towards the skill becomes so great that you can either completely win off of autopilot when your opponent has to use System 2, usually when it's a character is too strong, or when the player is significantly better than the other. Right? So I can probably beat a lot of players in Soul Calibur on autopilot. Now, if you ask me to do the same thing in a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which I'm kind of okay at, or a game like Mortal Kombat 11, which once again I'm kind of okay at, I can't do that. For the most part, I'm going to have to use more System 2 because I'm not as good at the game. Once you're better at a game, your autopilot naturally becomes better, right? And so does your System 2. You realize more things that you're going to react to. They're usually growing incrementally. Ooh, had to sneeze, apologies. They're usually growing incrementally and simultaneously, right? So when your autopilot grows, your System 2 grows. Unless the way that you play the game is all autopilot or all System 2. There are times where some people don't learn how to autopilot and are like, damn, I don't know what to do in this situation. Like, I'm always thinking too hard and I think too hard and I make the wrong mistake. Because they don't just say, I'm gonna let my hands do the work. My hands know exactly what to do here. I've been in this situation 500 times. There are certain situations in card games that are autopilot. My opponent does not have a hand trap in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? They don't have disruption. I make my first turn board with prank kids without thinking. I haven't played the deck in months. but I can still make the proper first turn void. It's just weird because I haven't played it so much, right? It feels a little foreign, but I understand my first turn combo void. Same with trap tricks. I haven't played it in a while, but when I see my 2 or 3 card combo, I know exactly what I'm doing with said 2 or 3 card combo. That is my system 1. System 2 steps in when I have to break a board or analyze a situation, right? On commentary, there's going to be a lot of times where I can use my system 1 because I've watched the game enough to understand, hey, this is going to be normal. This is the situation that's going to happen here. Maybe there's going to be some Leomi. Both players are going to think, oh, well, I know that you know this, but you know that I know this, blah, 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 back and forth. But they'll both come to the realization of an option that's usually relatively strong, okay? But then there are going to be times where interactions are a lot more nuanced, like something after a soul charge splat, and the opponent has a bar of meter and can wake up with a soul charge of their own. Or they can hold block and respect the pressure and take their turn after, right? Or they can be super crazy and wake up RI or GI, right? Something like that. Those are situations that require a little more nuance, but in neutral, there's a lot of things that I can explain without having to think. Just like there's gonna be a lot of situations in neutral and in your own pressure, and maybe even on defense, that you will be able to go to a specific option or a specific set of options constantly without having to think. Having an autopilot in fighting games is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I think building an autopilot is one of the best things you can do for yourself because it makes it so that you're not using so much brain power for things that are not required to use brain power. If you think through every single decision you make, you will be more tired, you will be more burned out, and you will have to play harder. It's just true. Whenever I'm playing against people off stream and they're streaming or whatever, and I'm just in their Twitch chat, you know, being a fucking gremlin, and I get to not talk to my chat or have any distractions at all, right? Like my cats aren't being annoying or anything. There's no random gunshots outside of my apartment. When I don't have any distractions, I play significantly better because I am able to use that autopilot. Now, whenever I'm looking through chat, making sure you guys are behaving, right? Explaining my decisions to you guys to talk about the things that are interesting happening on screen or talking about whatever, then that is more of my attention split. That is the perfect time to need an autopilot. Perfect time to need an autopilot. You still have to learn when to deviate from it, as you do for anything in life. I'm sure most of us go to our 9 to 5, right? If you have a job, a 9 to 5, right? Or you go to your job and you know relatively what to do. You don't even have to think. Okay, you work at McDonald's, bro. You get the buns, you toast the buns, you put the lettuce, tomatoes. Wait, hold up. What burgers? Okay, see, I don't work at McDonald's, so I don't know. Right, you put the pickles, the onions, the cheese, the other patty, then you put the motherfucking ketchup and mustard, you put the other bun on, boom, there's your McDouble. You take that, you wrap that shit up, you throw it down the line, right? It's that simple. The more you think, the more you know about stuff, the more simple it becomes. And the more autopilot in System 1 it becomes. We shouldn't be talking shit or trying to be rude to players. Don't make me hungry now. True, I'm also coming. We shouldn't be rude or try to dismantle players' confidence for them having a strong autopilot. If anything, we should be congratulating them for having a strong autopilot because I think that it's a hard tool to build at a top level because it's very hard to autopilot at a top level because everyone's very good. So if you're good and your opponent is good and you're autopiloting and you're winning and your opponent's mad, you're doing your job. Congratulations. For the guy who's losing to the autopilot, maybe you should have a better autopilot or have a better strategy against whatever character you're complaining about. Sometimes it's actually legitimate the character. There are characters that are super autopilot and require like very little decision making, i.e. Liu Kang when like he was one of the best characters in the game, required no effort in Mortal Kombat 11. Ivy and Aswell when the game was super broken, season 1, beginning of the game, very little effort required. Okay, it happens. Like there are gonna be those characters. Bardock, Dragon Ball Fighters? Bro, there's gonna be characters like that. There are, but for the vast majority of the time, it's a fighting game. There's so much nuance. There's so much things you have to think about. Even in a shooting game or in a card game, there's so much nuance. There's so many things to think about, so many interactions. So if you believe your opponent is beating you fully off autopilot, sounds like you need to get better. Or build a stronger autopilot yourself to combat what you're fighting against. Anyways, if you liked this little talk segment, of course, you know what to do. Hit the motherfucking like button, hit the subscribe button, and come through to the Twitch streams, okay? I'm not a YouTuber, I promise, okay? Sometimes I just see interesting stuff on Twitter or in the YouTube sphere that I want to talk about it, usually fighting game related or video game related in general. But I am not a YouTuber. I'm just Twitch streams. It's way more chill here. It's way cooler here. See you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.